The cell was so small that I could stand in one place and touch both walls simultaneously. The ceiling was so low that I could reach up and touch the hot light fixture. I could lie down, I could sit on my bed, or I could stand. I was not only isolated, but also disoriented. This was exacerbated by the fact that I wasn't allowed to have a wristwatch or a clock. In addition, the bright, artificial lights remained on in the cell constantly, increasing my disorientation and making it difficult to sleep. Not only were they constantly illuminated, but those lights buzzed incessantly. The buzzing noise was maddening, as there often were no other sounds at all. This may sound like a small thing, but it was my entire world. I now know that I was housed there for about 4 years, but I would have believed it was a decade if that's what I was told. It seemed eternal and endless and immeasurable.
We use administrative segregation, which is how we term it in Colorado, for the most dangerous and disruptive and violent inmates that have proven that they cannot, for whatever reason, be safe in general population. Usually those who have assaulted officers, assaulted other offenders, have repeatedly shown that through their behavior they can't follow even the basic rules.
Did I do something to go to prison? Yes, I did. And I pled guilty. I did 23 years in solitary out of a 28-year sentence in America.
Definition of solitary confinement is 23-hour-a-day lockdown in a solitary cell, very limited environmental stimulation, very limited access to education, no ability to interact with other people other than a simple forced exchange. Here's your food tray. Pass it back through the slot.
It's like spending a weekend locked in your bathroom. If you're like, no, I couldn't do that. No TV, no radio. You're just there with yourself. You want to scream to somebody, you could scream, you lose your voice. If there's somebody on the wing to scream to.
I counted the bricks, the little crevices in the walls, how long the crack is in length, like inches or yards or whatever. I counted the perforation in the door and the vents.
I copied the Bible, word for word. I didn't do this for anybody else. I did this for my sanity and for my beliefs. This took me 1 year, 9 months, and 2 days. And it's 4,284 pages long. You go backwards. I mean, and sometimes you just degenerate, but other times you dwell on thoughts of the past. You remember little things, and they stick in your head. There's one thing that's always kept me semi-sane. I can remember being 5 years old, sitting with my mom, watching the sunrise over the Grand Canyon. I can see every color. It's things like that you remember to stay sane. If you don't remember that, you go nuts.
I like spiders. Sometimes I would put like a spider in a little bottle and put little holes on it. And I give them names. You know, I had one of my spiders was Charlotte, that I got off the book Charlotte's Web. I had my beetle, Juju. I would put them on my mattress on the bed, and I would be like, all right, Juju, go over there, say hello, Juju. This is my world. And it made all the sense to me. I had a chessboard that I made out of paper and little pieces of toilet paper. So I used to play in the cell with myself. You ready to play? You want to play some chess? Yeah. You think you can beat me this time? Oh yeah, I can beat you. You didn't beat me the last. I'll beat you this time. What are you gonna play? I'm gonna play a King's Gambit opening on you. Oh, your move.
Mail and visits were the only things I look forward to. Anything else didn't matter. So sometimes I just laid in the bed and just stared into nothingness and let all my thoughts flow as they would. Sometimes I found myself with tears coming out. That was the most hardest part. My artwork was my stress reliever. I constantly did art. I actually perfected my art while being there, but that's because to avoid the environment take me out of there. And once I'm focused on my drawings, everything else is phased from me. One of my friends from the past, he was an artist too, and he advised me of colors, and I said, I don't got no, they don't sell no colors. He said, no, you could use color folders, as it'll come out as a pencil color texture, or you could use the watercolors, which was M&Ms and Skittles. From the primes, you can mix all other colors with it. And then once I did that, drawings were like, man, what kind of material you got? I said, candy. And that's how it was. And I never went back to black and white drawings no more.
This place breaks you down, but doesn't rebuild you. And it cannot, because in the process of breaking you down, it has destroyed the structural components of your humanity. Even if one learns again to function outwardly, inside he is broken. It's as if someone has taken an egg and without damaging the shell, managed to somehow scramble its insides.
These are offenders even while they're segregated, assault people. They throw things through the slots, bodily fluids. Every day, one of our officers at CSP gets assaulted by some sort of fluid being thrown on them.
If I could plug up the toilet stool and seal up the door frame with toilet paper and fill the cell up with water like it was a jacuzzi, I done it. And I flooded the whole entire building. The reason I flooded that cell was not to annoy you, but because you had me in a cell butt naked with nothing but a roll of toilet paper. The only thing I can do is stop this toilet up and flood it, because I know you're going to move. At least you're going to get me out of this cold cell and bring me out here in the day where there's some heat at.
My longest hunger strike was 48 days. One after that was 37, and I ended up in an outside hospital with IVs in my arms. After a while, they got so used to me doing long hunger strikes that they wouldn't talk to me for 30 days. So I had to do something different. I stopped drinking water. And I'd give them a urine sample in 3 days that looked like coffee. And then they would sit down and talk. My last hunger strike, I was on a gurney and there was no vital signs. And I went into shock.
What happens to many, many people who are quote-unquote sane when they're in a regular open prison population is that they start to decompensate quickly and dramatically once they're put into solitary confinement, and that as a result we may be inducing, if not full-blown mental illness or psychosis, at least psychological harm on people.
The deprivation of any individual from the company of his fellow man or woman is not simply the grimness of isolation, the grimness of being only with your own thoughts for all time. It actually has severe psychological effects, irreparable damage it causes to the individual.
And then you got people that are on medication that kick all night, literally. It just looked like, to me, it was like a mental institution rather than prison.
The worst aspects of this are not physical, although many prisoners resort to self-mutilation as a coping mechanism. One prisoner in my unit cut his testicles from his body, calmly handing one to a baffled prison guard.
You're grabbing on anything to feel pain, to feel something, because there's nothing to feel. How can I go ask for help? How can I go tell the people in mental health, I'm ready to snap. I'm ready to lose it. I'm ready to quit. First time I say that, you know what they did to me? They stripped me naked and threw me in a room with lights on 24 hours a day that was freezing cold. After so many years in that box, you just get tired. You just get so freaking tired, you want it to stop. That's what it does to you. And everybody in there, they can say they don't go through it, they're a liar. They're a liar. I know some of the hardest guys from the prison system that was in there. We talk quietly, same feeling. But you can't tell your family because then your family's worried about you. You can't tell anybody because then your mom's gonna sit there and cry. How do I tell my mom I feel like dying?
Isolation definitely killed my brother. James knew he had messed up bad. He was so overwhelmed, and I don't think waking up from that hospital bed, he expected that doctor to tell him he had killed somebody, he had taken a life. At the time of the crash, he was speeding, and he had been under the influence of alcohol. The prosecutors, a few weeks later, had decided to charge James as an adult, immediately removed him and taken him to the adult facility. And it slowly drove him crazy, as all he did was just think and think and think and think and think. There was nobody there. There was no kind of help for him, nobody to talk to, no youth groups, nothing. All he was there was with the silence of his thoughts. There was a guard who had said that he had saw James 5 minutes before and gone back, and it had seemed that James had grabbed a sheet from one of the beds, and he sat back against the wall, and he wrapped the sheet around his neck, and he just twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted until he couldn't twist anymore.
Given the serious psychological and physiological adverse effects of solitary confinement, I conclude that solitary confinement is a harsh measure and contrary to one of the essential aims of the penitentiary system, which is to rehabilitate offenders and facilitate their reintegration into society.
The law recognizes psychological harm and psychological pain. It's not only the case that cruel and unusual punishment is when we waterboard people or when we pull out their fingernails or do the other kinds of things that we think of as torture. It's cruel and unusual to inflict emotional pain on people.
When a man is castrating himself in a cell and you're saying he's malingering and nobody's speaking up for this man, that's as America's full of it.
Keeping people in total isolation for enormous periods of time, in the case of many prisoners in America, for the whole of their lives without parole, constitutes torture, constitutes inhuman and degrading treatment.
Well, you made a mistake. You messed up. This is what happened to you when you do bad things. You get sent to places like that. Okay, I made a mistake. You punished me. But indefinite punishment? You can't kill a man over and over and over and over and over again.
Nothing. My gray box is no existence. Just gray stone. That's it. It's a wasteland. A gray box, a wasteland to me.
16 months I've been home. I'm not home. I'm still there. I mean, right now I'm stuck in Tams. I'm stuck in that damn box. And I don't know how many days it's gonna be before I get my head out of there.
What do you want people to know?
That I'm human. And a place like that is not good for us. Period.